The throne room of the Kalteri Empire stretched into shadows, its crystalline walls reflecting the pale blue light of 3 moons. Queen Valara sat upon her seat of honor, her 4 arms folded in a gesture that every courtier recognized as deep contemplation. Before her stood Ambassador Marcus Webb, the human representative who had spent 2 years negotiating trade agreements between Earth and the Kalteri worlds. "You understand what you agree to," Valara said, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones that marked her species. "My daughter Lysa bears the genetic flaw. No Kalteri male will bond with her. She will never produce heirs." Marcus met her gaze without flinching. He had learned much about the Kalteri during his posting. Their reproduction required perfect genetic compatibility, tested through biological resonance that human scientists still struggled to explain. Lysa had been tested with every eligible male in the Empire. The resonance had failed each time. "I understand, Your Majesty," Marcus replied. "On Earth, we don't require such compatibility. We find other reasons to build a life together." The Queen's second set of eyes blinked slowly, a sign of curiosity. "You would take a wife knowing she cannot give you children? Your species values offspring, does it not?" "We do," Marcus admitted. "But we also value partnership, companionship, and shared purpose. I've come to know Princess Lysa through our negotiations. She's brilliant, compassionate, and dedicated to her people. Those qualities matter more than genetic charts." Valara studied the human for a long moment. His words were either profound wisdom or profound foolishness, and she could not determine which. Yet options had run out. Political rivals whispered that the royal line was corrupted, that Lysa's condition proved the dynasty's unworthiness. This union, while unusual, would secure an alliance with the growing human federation and provide Lysa with status as a bonded female. "Then it shall be done," the Queen declared. "You will undergo the traditional trials. If you survive them, the bonding ceremony will proceed." Marcus had survived worse during his military service before joining the diplomatic corps. The Kalteri trials tested courage, intelligence, and endurance through a series of increasingly difficult challenges. He navigated the maze of razor crystals, solved the ancient mathematical puzzles, and endured the burning sands of the ceremonial desert crossing. By the end, even the skeptical courtiers had to acknowledge the human's worthiness. The bonding ceremony took place under the alignment of all 3 moons. Lysa wore the traditional silver robes that cascaded down her slender form. Her people were tall and elegant, with luminescent skin that shifted through subtle color changes based on emotion. As she approached Marcus, her skin showed patterns of nervousness mixed with hope. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered as they stood before the priestess. "Accept exile for my sake." "I'm not accepting exile," Marcus replied softly. "I'm choosing a future." "There's a difference." The priestess bound their hands with ceremonial silk and spoke the ancient words. When the ritual concluded, they were recognized as bonded mates throughout the empire. The celebration that followed was grand but tinged with an undercurrent of pity. Everyone knew this union would be childless. The first year of their marriage unfolded quietly. Marcus and Lysa took up residence in a palace on the coastal cliffs of Kaltera Prime. They worked together on expanding trade, routes, and cultural exchanges between their peoples. They learned each other's languages, customs, and dreams. What began as a political arrangement deepened into genuine affection and then into love. "Do you regret it?" Lysa asked one evening as they watched the sunset over the bioluminescent ocean. "Bonding with someone who cannot give you heirs?" Marcus pulled her close, marveling as always at how her skin glowed softly in the fading light. "I regret nothing. You've given me more than I ever expected. A partner, a purpose, a home among the stars." She rested her head against his shoulder, and her skin flickered through colors that meant contentment and sorrow intermingled. Sometimes I wish the universe were different. That biology didn't constrain us so completely. 3 months later, Lysa fell ill. The palace physicians examined her with growing confusion. Her symptoms matched nothing in their medical databases. She experienced nausea, fatigue, and unusual hormonal fluctuations. The head physician, an elderly male named Terran, ran every diagnostic scan available. "I don't understand," Terran muttered, studying the results for the 100th time. "Her body is undergoing changes associated with reproduction, but that's impossible." The genetic resonance tests were absolute. Marcus insisted on bringing in human doctors from the Earth Embassy. Dr. Rachel Foster arrived within 2 days and conducted her own examination. When she emerged from the medical bay, her expression was one of stunned amazement. "Princess Lysa is pregnant," Dr. Foster announced. The room fell silent. Torrin's skin flashed through colors indicating shock and disbelief. "That cannot be. Our tests are infallible. She lacks the genetic sequences necessary for Kalteri reproduction." "She's not undergoing Kalteri reproduction," Dr. Foster explained. "She's undergoing human reproduction. Somehow, Ambassador Webb's genetic material successfully fertilized one of her eggs. The embryo is developing using human gestational pathways, not Kalteri ones." The news spread through the Empire like wildfire. Queen Valara arrived at the palace within hours, her entourage of scientists and advisors in tow. She demanded to see her daughter immediately. Lysa sat in the garden, one hand resting protectively on her stomach. Her skin showed colors that meant wonder and fear in equal measure. When her mother appeared, she rose and bowed formally. "Is it true?" Valara demanded, her voice tight with emotions she struggled to contain. "According to the human doctor, yes," Lysa replied. "I carry a child. How it's possible, no one can fully explain." The queen's forearms trembled. For months, she had resigned herself to never having grandchildren, to watching her dynasty end with Lysa. Now the impossible had occurred. The human did this. His biology bypassed our genetic barriers somehow. Over the following weeks, scientists from both species worked to understand the phenomenon. They discovered that human reproduction, while less sophisticated than Kalteri genetic resonance, was far more adaptable. Human genetic material could interface with a wider variety of biological systems. The pregnancy wouldn't have been possible with most species, but the Kalteri physiology was compatible enough at a base level to allow it. "It's like forcing a key into a lock it wasn't designed for," one researcher explained. "It shouldn't work according to Kalteri biology, but human biology doesn't care about shouldn't. It finds a way." The pregnancy progressed differently than Kalteri gestations. Lysa carried for 9 months rather than the typical 6. Her body adapted, creating new biological pathways to support the hybrid child developing within her. The human doctors monitored her constantly, while Kalteri physicians learned entirely new medical procedures. When Lysa went into labor, both Marcus and Queen Valara were present. The delivery was difficult, requiring techniques from both medical traditions. But when the cries of a newborn finally filled the room, everyone present felt the weight of history shifting. The child was male, with features that blended both species. He had his mother's luminescent skin and his father's sturdy bone structure. His small hands had 3 fingers like the Kalteri, but they moved with human dexterity. When the physicians examined him, they found he possessed biological traits from both parents, mixed in ways that should have been impossible. A hybrid, Dr. Foster breathed. True genetic fusion between human and Kalteri. This has never been documented between our species before. Queen Valara held her grandson with all 4 arms, tears streaming down her face. Her skin cycled through every color of joy and gratitude in the Kalteri emotional spectrum. "What will you name him?" Marcus and Lysa exchanged glances. They had discussed this during the long months of pregnancy. David, Marcus said. It means beloved in one of Earth's ancient languages. David Valara Webb, Lysa added, bearing names from both our worlds. The birth of David sent shockwaves through both human and Kalteri societies. Scientists demanded to study the child. Politicians debated the implications for future relations between the species, and religious leaders argued about the meaning of such a union. But in the quiet of their home, Marcus and Lysa simply enjoyed being parents. 2 years later, Lysa became pregnant again. This time, the process was easier, her body having adapted to human reproductive biology. She gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, both healthy hybrids like their brother. Queen Valara spent every possible moment with her grandchildren, marveling at how they embodied the best qualities of both species. The political implications were profound. The existence of healthy human Kalteri hybrids opened possibilities for future cooperation that went far beyond trade agreements. Some suggested that humans might be able to help other Kalteri with genetic incompatibilities, offering a solution to a problem that had plagued their species for generations. Marcus stood on the balcony of their home, watching his 3 children play in the garden below. David chased his younger siblings through the bioluminescent flowers, their laughter carrying on the evening breeze. Lysa joined him, sliding her hand into his. Your mother asked me today if we planned to have more children, Marcus said with a SM.